Ebro, Laura Rosenberg, and John Legend.
Yeah.
Friend of the show. Friend of the show.
Of course.
Yeah. I call him friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
I haven't been here in a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but he's a
It's
friend
good
of
to
the
be
show.
back.
We've had John Legend on in some of the most tumultuous times. From phone calls to in studio.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had John Legend on the air. Politically, we've had to really dig in multiple times.
Good thing nothing political's going on now.
Yeah, no.
Everything's all
Everything's
calm.
so low key.
Everything's calm.
Everything's calm.
Chill.
Nothing to worry about.
Yes.
But even when your former collaborators and compadres and you went left, you was like, hey, I gotta call in and make sure I create my own narrative for myself.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I love you giving us the venue to
No, listen.
be ourselves and tell our truths.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now, though, that 20th anniversary of Get Lifted.
Yes.
The John Legend album that shook the world is on world tour, 40 cities.
Yes.
UK,
Amazing.
Europe, North America.
Yes.
You just wrapped the UK European leg.
Yes, so we're getting ready for North America. Into the summer, into the fall, we're going to be all over the States and Canada as well.
Yeah.
So I see, Ebro, by the way, the deluxe album has Thames,
Yes.
has Black Thought, Killer Mike, and Lil Wayne.
Absolutely. We got some great, and Simi.
And Simi.
Ninth Wonder, like just some great collaborators. So the main body of the album is the same, but we did a bonus LP with all those remixes, and it
Fire.
features all those great people. Yeah.
Wow.
I love
Yeah.
that.
No, I
Exciting.
love the remixes. Bring the
20
remixes
years.
back.
How did that happen, though? I'm okay.
Yeah, man.
05?
We grew up, man.
05?
Yeah, so the album came out December 04, and then the tour was 05. So basically, it's 20 years since the last, since the tour.
At what point did you go from Stevens to Legend? What's
So that story was Jay Ivy. I don't know if you know him. He's a
course I know
spoken
Jay.
word artist.
Yeah, well, a
from
Grammy winner.
Yes,
Yeah.
from Chicago. And he was with us when we were making College Dropout. And he started calling me the Legend, and it kind of morphed into John Legend, and it became a stage name.
And that's right before that.
It was like
03,
02, yeah, 02-ish. And the wild part was I had to trademark John Legend, and it turned out that there was a guy named Johnny Legend who was a porn producer and a rockabilly music artist. So so we had to find him and make sure he wouldn't sue me.
You don't want the Biggie Small situation.
You know, and so we found him, and my manager worked out a deal where, you know, we could mutually exclusively be Johnny Legend and John Legend, and we worked it out and put out the album as John Legend.
That's a big
It
deal.
all worked out, yeah.
I guess in retrospect, do you think your career would have been different?
Yeah.
It probably would have.
I don't think John Stevens would have had the same impact.
It's true. Legend is something.
And then what was wild was around the same time there was a kid on American Idol who was doing well under the name John Stevens with a V.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
So it was
crazy
like
how
all
things
these,
go.
it was like God was like moving me in the right direction. You need to be John Legend, and this other kid from American Idol can be John
Now,
Stevens.
Johnny Legend,
Yes.
I'm not familiar with his work.
No, me
Did you
neither.
have to get familiar with his work? in
No,
the
I
process?
didn't get familiar with it, but I just knew my lawyer just told me he
Yeah.
existed.
Right.
Sounds like he has a very diverse body of work, though.
Yeah, he was
Rockabilly to
more
porn?
he was more like in the porn side, but he also had records. So the fact that he had records was the reason I had to
Yeah.
get the thing clear, because you could go to a record store and be like, I'm looking for Johnny Legend, but you'd stumble upon John Legend, it'd be confusing.
That's right.
So we had to work it out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's hilarious.
I feel like I want to congratulate you and thank you for staying so close to hip hop.
Of
As
course.
far as you've gone so far.
Yeah, man. Well, hip hop really had so much to do with me being the artist that I am. The collaborations I did early in my career meant so much, and I still love working with MCs and making great hip hop music, and hip hop's been great to me. So I feel like I owe a lot of my success in life to hip hop.
No, that's love, man.
Yeah.
That's love. And now, father of four.
Father of four.
Yo, that was quick.
Good Lord, that happened fast. Yes, so we had two. The oldest two are 9 and 7, but then we had two around the same time. One was with the surrogate, and one Chrissy had, and so they're both 2 years old now.
Right.
So that's Ren and Esty, and yeah, man, it's high energy at the house.
Yeah.
A lot of energy.
What?
But you guys had a very public, well-known IVF journey.
Yes.
And so it's just beautiful to see that, like, I remember so well your guys' public struggles.
Yeah.
To then turn around, you're like, hey, I got 4 kids.
It's crazy.
Is it wild for you to sort of be used to that when I'm sure at a certain point for you guys, it was such a source of pain, your fear that you might not have?
Yes. And, we went through all the pain of it, and we went through like the actual tragedy of losing one and feeling all of that, and then having these 4 beautiful kids just running around the house all the time.
Right.
It's such a blessing, and there's so much love and energy in the house, and I'm just grateful, truly.
I need you to be honest, though.
Yeah.
Being, let's say, well-to-do.
Yes.
How helpful is that with the 4
Oh, of
kids?
course, it's good.
Because I know, listen,
Nannies, having help around the
Chef.
house.
You guys got people
We don't
cook
have a
food?
chef. We cook ourselves.
You do? Okay, I like to hear that.
So what is the help? Let's be real, because this is
For real, it's nannies.
It's then because
Yeah.
this actually gives flowers to people like all the regular folks out there who
Yes.
have 4 kids and they do it on their own every day.
Absolutely. And,
So-
I grew up in a family of 4 kids, and my parents didn't have any
Yeah, there
help.
weren't nannies around.
Yeah, they didn't have any help. We were a working class family. My dad worked at a factory, so my mom homeschooled us. So
Oh,
this
wow.
is like
Wow.
they really put in work. So I don't take it for granted that being able to afford to have help is something special, and that not everybody has.
Yeah, it's just hard to. It must be hard to imagine how
Yeah.
you do all of it.
Yeah, I can't believe what our parents did. And then their parents, my mother was one of 6 kids, and my dad was one of 5.
Sheesh.
And, they're doing this on, working class salaries in Springfield, Ohio. Like the things that they were able to endure for our sakes was amazing.
Well, when you think about it too, I even think back when I was a kid, I was already on the stove cooking
Yeah.
dinner,
Yeah.
TV dinners and all that by the time I'm 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
I started cooking when I was like 8 or 9. And then my parents got divorced when I was 10, 11. So we were living with my dad, and we were just doing everything.
Right.
Like the chores, cooking. I was cooking. My brothers and sister were doing chores around the house, doing
Yeah.
dishes. We had to do whatever.
Well, so now when you look at your kids, do you get, because I know for mine, I get worried. Like,
Yeah.
Issa got to clean her bathroom. Like,
Yeah.
Come on, get your bathroom. You got to clean your room. There's certain things that you got to do. Even though we can
Yes.
afford to have somebody clean the house, they got to know how to do
Yes,
some
you
stuff.
have to at least pick up after yourself, clean
Yeah.
your room, and things like that. And I do worry about it because it's like, man, these kids have no idea what we
Right.
went through. They have no
Right.
idea the challenges and just the everyday things that we had to worry about that they just don't have to worry about.
So what do you do? What do you do to keep kids grounded
It's
when their parents
hard.
are John Legend and Chrissy T?
I
It's
No.
hard. Like, I didn't even fly anywhere until
Right.
I was 16 years old and visited Penn. So my first time flying was visiting the college that I was about to go to.
Wow.
And I had never even gotten on an airplane before. And now my kids,
They've been private. I'm sure they've flown
they've
private.
done everything.
They've done everything.
They flying first class to Paris and private to Vegas or whatever. And like, I just don't know how to make them understand where I came from. They
But
can visit.
do you
they
talk
can-
to them? Do you give them chores? Like, how does?
We give them like,
Yeah.
clean your room, clean up after yourself.
Yeah, but what can you do? You can
But-
only do so much.
But
You
but
gotta-
also life gives you challenges,
Yeah.
Like my son has type 1 diabetes. Like no matter how wealthy we are, we can't like make that go away.
Right.
And so
You gotta do the work. You
and
gotta
so
stay on top
life
of it.
life gives you challenges no matter what. And so we just have to teach them to be resilient and help them through that, but also like realize that you can't protect them from everything. And part of your job is to make it so that they're ready to deal with challenges.
Your wife, Chrissy, is a wonderful person. Big fan.
Absolutely.
And she-
I agree.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And she's
love her.
also been at different points the poster child for hate from like right-wing lunatics
Oh yeah,
and people
man.
like that.
Oh man.
Are your kids aware of that and aware of
No.
those challenges?
They're not aware of that. They're aware that we're well known. People ask for our pictures when the kids are with us. They go to my shows, so they feel mostly the love side of things. But there's definitely hate out there too.
At
Yeah.
some point, do you fill them in on that, or you just hope that maybe they can see it?
I think probably they'll figure it out, and we'll talk to them about it when they get a little older. But they're not even on social media, so they don't see a lot of that stuff.
Has it gotten better?
Yes, it's gotten better. And even back then, like during the worst of it, it was all that QAnon craziness, and it was wild for a little while. I think, especially during the pandemic, everybody was on Twitter. Everybody was cooped up. Everybody was like pissed off with just life. Like life was terrible for a lot of people, and so there was a lot of just bad energy online. And we're not even on Twitter anymore. But during that time, it was intense, the negativity. But it's over now, and I feel like it's calmed down quite a bit. And most of the interactions we have with the public and with social media is positive.
Yeah,
it's like good energy. And like Chrissy makes food for a living, like gives people amazing recipes and connects with people on a family level. And I feel like most people love that and connect with that. But there's always going to be haters, but I feel like it's calmed down quite a bit.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Isn't it crazy? You brought up Twitter.
Yeah.
Remember when that was like a
we
thing?
we were so into it at the time, and then now I don't even have it on my phone. It's gone. Like it's gone from my life.
Well, and then the dude that bought it
Yeah.
went on and ran up in the White House.
Yeah.
And then got into a fight outside the Oval Office and got punched in the face.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
That's
the
what they
rumor.
said.
That's what I said. I said that's what they say.
Well, you don't believe he had a shot? He had a.
I think
he got duffed out.
I think that was
B.
Botox.
Yeah, it could have been Botox.
I thought about that too.
It looked like a Botox bruise.
I thought that too.
I like the duff. I like getting
But
punched.
the only reason I'm pushing back on the duff out is, who would it have been with?
No, they said it. They said it was
say
like
it
the finance.
They said he
Secretary
got
of
in an
Finance.
argument with Scott Bessent, who's the Secretary of Treasury.
Treasury, yeah, bro.
Treasury, okay.
But I don't think Scott actually punched him.
But Scott never said he didn't.
So you went with that. You like that one?
Yeah,
I'm
nobody
going,
was
I'm
like,
going,
nah.
I'm going with his Botox
It could
technician.
It could be Botox tech. I could see that. It also, by the way, based on how high you looked, it could have been stumble and fall down. It could have been.
Yeah.
Yo,
going on.
Elon brought y'all. So much happens. Elon took his little kid in there. Remember, his kid was like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up." Remember that?
No, he's son Trump.
Yes.
and
The child.
we just moved on. And Trump kept acting like he's a good guy. He's like, little X, he's crazy. Blah, blah, blah. But now we moved on. Now
What a
Trump said-
time! What a time we live in.
now he said fuck, so we're on to something else.
He did
altogether.
say fuck.
There was a big fuck yesterday, so
Who knew that? Of all the crises happening around the world, that it took the 2-hour ceasefire to bring out a fuck from Donald Trump.
yeah, that was the first time. After all this time, we'd never gotten that.
Well, he's already grabbed women by the vagina. He grabs them by the pussy
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Right,
he done
but
already
this
said
is-
vile shit.
No, he had, but as president, while you're on the tarmac,
Yes.
with the chopper
To the
moving,
press.
yeah, you don't get it. Every
I'm telling y'all, he does that on purpose. I told Rosenberg, there's no way after all of this that he's not savvy enough to be like, yo, if I do something crazy right now, it's going to
Maybe
get
we
the
can-
attention away from
I think-
the failed bombing of the
Yeah.
nuclear sites,
Yeah.
the failed ceasefire. Let's shift the whole convo.
I just think his mind works so that every hour, every day, he's like on something new because he's trying to just.
he's an entertainer, bro.
Yeah, he's an entertainer,
He's a
and also
reality
his
show host.
brain is very short term.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to win that moment.
That's right.
Yeah.
In all the political circles that you move around in and fundraising
Mm-hmm.
and advocacy for, just being a good human, right?
Trying.
Like you do a lot of advocating for being a good human. What are the conversations being had about the current state of politics and where things are headed? Because I'm sure, I see Clooney out here talking. Everybody was so disappointed about what happened with Kamala. What are you saying?
I think people are worried, because I think people took for granted that we were going to live in a democracy, and that there were checks and balances, and then you see people getting kidnapped on the street by ICE with no due process. You see people getting shipped to Sudan and Ecuador and all kinds of places.
Salvador,
Salvador, excuse me. All these places around the world with no due process, like it feels like we are live in a different country than we thought we lived in.
Yeah.
And I think people are genuinely worried, and that's why you saw millions of people in the streets for the No Kings protest. That's why you're seeing people organizing and protesting all across the country, which gives me encouragement that people are still resisting and not afraid to resist in that way. And hopefully that will continue. And I think we're going to get through it, but only because the people are so adamantly opposed to us becoming an authoritarian country. And we're leaning in that direction, but I feel like the people are going to fight back and make sure we don't go there.
How do you do with turning it off and not like freaking? Because it's been
I
tense.
just don't freak. Like, it's just not in my nature to freak out. I'm a very like, I just figure out how to keep going and focus on what I can change and what I can affect. And so, one, I'm just an artist. Like, I write songs for a living, I play music for a living, and I still get so much joy from that. And so part of it is I just focus on what I love to do, and I focus on my family. And then when it comes to activism, a lot of it is just focusing on things we can actually change. So we can still get involved in local politics, state politics, and a lot of the issues that I work on, like education and criminal justice reform, they're more affected by what we do locally and in the state level than they are by who's the president. So I can still work on that stuff. My team can still work on it. And so we do. We work on it. We work with people in Louisiana and California, New York State, like different states that are passing new laws to make life more fair and just for people and making it so it's easier for people who are coming out of prison to get a job. All that stuff is happening on the local and state level. And so we still get involved in all of that. And so it makes you feel more hopeful because you can still win on the local and state level.
Are you a Gavin Newsom guy? Do you think there's a future for Gavin Newsom?
I voted for him in California. I'm going to wait and see who runs for the Democratic nomination. But, I like that he's, standing up to Trump and I like a little tough talk, I feel like it's good,
No, we need
I
it.
feel like you need it right now more than ever.
I like it.
It's
And,
unfortunately, it's unfortunate.
Right.
Like,
No, we
it's
need that?
It's unfortunate. Like, if we're being honest.
yeah. And it's crazy that we have a president that literally hates states. Like, that doesn't think he's the president of the whole country.
Right,
he thinks he only governs for the people who voted for him. And, that is so obvious, but it's also crazy. Like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, our president should not be like deciding because you're a blue state that I don't fuck with you. Like, that's insane.
Especially when
The largest state in the country and literally the fourth largest economy in the world is California.
And what about like the 30% of Californians who voted for him and he
Exactly.
still doesn't like them?
Yeah.
And
They
all
get
the
thrown
money.
By the way, they're okay with it.
They're fine. Oh, yeah, they love him so much, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
all the money that comes from California that basically feeds these red states. too.
Yes.
Right.
Like we
Without those taxes.
like net we give 80 some $billion to the country in tax revenue and no gratitude. He's just like, fuck y'all.
Yeah, he was happy with the fires. Oh, I'm going to go turn on the water.
Yeah.
Lied about
Which
that.
was insane.
Which was insane.
Like, he thought because it was up in the north that it would flow downward to the south of California. And
That water had nothing to do
it
with
had
that.
nothing to do with
Nothing
Southern
at all.
California. It never got to us. And
Nothing.
we didn't actually need it
But
in that way.
once again, he's banking on his supporters not knowing the difference. So he just says shit because even when the truth comes out.
And maybe he actually believed it, though. Like, sometimes
Maybe.
I just think he's actually that dumb.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He might
Big,
actually.
strong-
Like, another one that he does is he always says they're releasing people from mental asylums and sending
Oh,
them
that's one of the great lies.
to-
They're emptying the asylums,
the asylums
across the border, right?
And he's just saying that because he's confusing asylum, which is like seeking refuge in another country,
Facts.
with mental asylums. And like, he says it, and I honestly think he's dumb enough to believe that that's what's happening.
Well, what about the one, while we're on this topic, the transgender mice?
Yes.
That's not a thing. But
It's
they
not a
told him,
thing.
they said it's not trans. That's the wrong word.
He thought that the tattoos on the dude's fists were real too. Like, I think he honestly believes that stuff. Like, he's actually dumb too.
But,
No, I
but
think-
he's smart. How can you be smart enough to manipulate society completely all the time and be dumb enough to not know basic things?
It's
also?
wild. It's like he's an idiot savant. Like, he's like really idiotic about certain things, but he's got a genius to him as well.
I think, but see, what I'm saying is he doesn't care. As long as it directs people and gets them going chaotically.
Yes, he loves
in
chaos.
a way that allows him to manipulate.
Yeah.
Right?
This
You
all
know what I'm
sounds
saying?
incredibly familiar. Are you saying someone who says things that are completely idiotic, but seems like also a
I thought the
genius
same
savant?
thing. I thought the same thing.
That feels
No, but that's that
familiar to
dragon
me.
energy, man. They got dragon energy.
Yo, did you when Kanye said the crazy stuff about you, sort
Yeah.
of like attacking your looks?
Yeah.
What did he compare you to again? What did he say?
I can't remember. He was very obsessed with me wearing sweaters.
He didn't like what you were wearing, and he said you looked like a hamburger or something. What did he say you looked like?
He was very obsessed with the sweaters, and he said I smell like mashed potatoes.
Smell.
Yeah.
I knew it was made up bullshit. He said you smell like potatoes. First of all, potatoes are delicious. So let's start there.
What kind of potatoes? I like cheesy, garlic,
But like, did any of it offend you? Did it make you
No.
sad? Like nothing?
All of it makes me sad, though. All of it does. And it's not for me, because obviously I smell great.
By the way, I did not remember this. As you remember, when he walked in the first time, I was like, "You smell great." I forgot that he said you smell like potatoes. You smell fantastic.
I'm curious.
So it never affects me, like, personally, but just the whole story is sad. Like,
Right.
seeing this guy, like, praise Hitler, seeing this guy be like this force of like hate and just like vitriol and nastiness. Somebody who has made some of the great art of this century, like as an artist, as a performer, as a fashion designer, all the things that he's done to make like the world more beautiful and more interesting, and then for him to be this now, it's sad. It's just sad.
Do you, when you see, hear, whatever on the outside, do you recall this person? Like, is this a person that you even see any version of someone that you knew?
I never saw the side of him that was obsessed with Hitler. But, like Rolling Stone did an article where they said employees that work for him at the fashion, side of things, they heard him talking about this, 15 years ago or something.
Wow.
And so I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I truly didn't. He wasn't political. Even when, like, he said George Bush doesn't care about black people, or some of the political things he put in raps, like, in his daily conversation, we never, like, I have friends that I talk about politics with all the time. He was never one of them.
Right.
So I never thought of him as a person that thought about who was president, or just any of these more kind of social and cultural issues. He just never talked about it in conversation.
I still, even looking back on him skipping around the desk and calling Trump his dad and that whole thing, like, I still don't believe he's political. I believe he's trying to be hot. He's trying to be on.
Controversial.
He's trying to
Get
be
the people
controversial.
going.
He's
Gets
trying
the
to
people
promote
going.
a thing. It's
Yeah.
all a business hustle. It's all a promo, which, back to what we were just giggling about with him and Trump, it's all, how do I get the people going?
It's chaos.
It's just
But
chaos.
when you think back to, like, just a couple years ago, I was super moved. Like, Cootie and Chike did an incredible movie about him, right? And he's now dissed them too, of course. And when it went back to your early days, like that part, at that point, I was already so done with him. And yet, watching the doc and going back then,
Man.
you feel so sentimental.
What a
because of-
time. What a time.
I mean, how would you describe the guy he was then? Was he, like, at his worst, just kind of annoying at times? He seemed a little annoying, but he didn't seem like someone who would have these things in him.
He was full of so much, like, energy and creativity and optimism, and, like, we really believed we were, like, starting a new movement in music. And
you were.
And we were. And being a part of that was inspiring. It was truly inspiring. That's why it's sad now, because, like, we did amazing things together as a collective, as a movement. And just think about all, like, the amazing music that came from it, the Good Fridays, all the things that happened during, like, the first 10 years of his career. Like, just thrilling. And to be part of that was amazing. And I have no regrets, because,
But
like,
you know
even
what?
though he's gone, like, completely left now, like, I'm so glad that we did what we did together.
Right.
When people change.
Yeah.
Like, if we're being honest, like,
Yeah.
we've all had friends, family members who surprised us at a certain point and was like, yo, you think like that?
Yeah.
Well, and I think also some of us have to accept, because on this show, we've spent a lot of time talking about, like, if he were to, it's gone away, but if he were to come back, maybe he could change. But if you go back and look at history, right, the kids of today, they don't remember the version of Donald Trump that we all remember. Not that he was some saint or anything, but he certainly wasn't. He didn't in any way represent what he represents now.
No.
It happens over time.
Yeah.
So the version that our kids may know of Kanye he literally won't even be named Kanye. He will be a complete. It may have
it's
no
not even,
relationship with, So I guess you're right. People do just change, and it is kind of sad.
Change.
Yeah.
John Legend on tour right now, starting the North American leg of the tour. August 23rd, all the major markets. He's at the Hollywood Bowl in L.A. September 28th. On September 28th in L.A. and Barclay, New York, November 4th.
That's right.
John, we love you, man.
I'm so happy to be
Lifted's
back with
20
y'all.
years
Love
old,
y'all
man.
too. So happy to be here.
You're the best, bro.
Man.
Thank you, man.
Love.